vale la pena? That's Spanish for, is it worth it? My friends and I tend to ask ourselves this question whenever we run into a moment of self-doubt. Well, really, the first time where I found myself asking this question, is it worth it, was when I was asked to serve as a United States House of Representatives page for the 111th Congress. For those of you who don't know what this page program is about, it roughly has a 200-year-old tradition where teenagers like yourselves here in the audience have the opportunity to serve as messengers for members of Congress in Capitol Hill. You live at the Page Residence Hall, which is 2 blocks from Capitol Hill, attend school at the Library of Congress, and later work on the United States House floor in the environment with Congress members. Well, when it came time to decide if I could attend this program or not, I really didn't have the power to make this decision. You see, the idea of spending my summer in DC, away from home and on my own for the first time, did not please my father at all. And very shortly, I'll explain in full detail why that is. But meanwhile, I remember I sought guidance from my oldest sister, and I asked her what was the appropriate way to reach my father in granting permission from him. Well, she didn't really answer my question, and instead she told me, I don't think your father is going to let you attend this program because it's far from home. We're just not used to seeing these opportunities in our family. Immediately, how do you think I took that response? I was devastated. I started questioning myself, what was I working towards in my life if when an opportunity is presented to me, I don't take it? I began to ask myself, is it worth it going up against my father in granting permission for this program? Well, in order to understand why my father is having such a hard time understanding what this opportunity was, I must make some things clear first. You see, my father was born in Mexico, Puebla to be exact, and as you may know, this country suffers high in poverty. My father lived and was raised here in Mexico with a family with 7 brothers and sisters where, this meant that he had to drop out of school early and work from an early age. Mother and daughters worked in the home while father and sons worked out in the field. Family was unity, and this family pattern will repeat itself unless someone within the family does something different to improve their lives. That was my father. Because at the age of 29, he came to this country with literally nothing in his pockets but that motivation to thrive and achieve what we know of today as the American dream. My parents really worked their way up, literally from living in crowded apartments to most recently paying off our house just last month. My father mostly worked selling produce and my mother in the sweatshops of downtown Los Angeles. But my father knew that this was not good enough, so he pushed himself to attend truck driving school, and unfortunately, once and twice, he failed his driving exam. But he was persistent, because on the 3rd try, he passed his driver's exam. So when it came time to decide if he could grant me permission or not, you can imagine why this was such an intense process. My father was just not used to seeing, his daughters or, his children going far away from home for opportunities like these. So what did I do? I set up a meeting with my boss, Benjamin Cardenas, who was the district office director of Congresswoman Napolitano. And in that long meeting, I felt like for the first time, my father was hearing me out. He began to see me not only as a young adult, but I began to tell him my life dreams, ambitions, and goals for the first time. He granted me permission, finally. And I went back, thank you. And I came back from my page experience thinking how fortunate I was to be a participant of the program, not only because I was exposed to the political world of Washington, D.C., but because I was one of 5 Latina pages to serve, and I was the first in my family to reach our nation's capital. This experience, however, told me that the next time I would have to ask myself if something was worth it, it would be for the college decision process. The weekend before the National College Decision Day, I was barely going to tell my father that I wasn't planning on attending a nearby school close to home, that in fact, Wellesley College in Massachusetts, where Hillary Clinton attended, is giving me another wonderful opportunity. Not only were they helping me financially, but being at an all-women's college, I felt, will help me further meet my career goals. Again, my father had a hard time accepting this decision that I was taking of me going far away from home, because like I said, my family was united and I was going up against and breaking this tradition. I have to realize now that I'm in my first semester of college in Wellesley in Massachusetts, I have to realize that going up against the man who I am economically dependent on, and the man who is the leader of the success of my family, is nothing compared to what 600 million adolescent girls living in developing countries go through just for their basic needs in life. Really, throughout my high school years, I was exposed to the words female empowerment. Global Girl Media, which is a nonprofit organization that trains girls like me to be citizen broadcast journalists, taught me the value of my voice. It was here for the first time that I worked with Tebogo, who is from South Africa, and she realized that although Tebogo and I have the same life goals and ambitions, it was going to be harder for Tebogo to reach her dreams because of where she lives. I didn't find this fair. Then there's Girl Up, a campaign of the United Nations Foundation that helps girls in developing countries like Malawi, Ethiopia, Liberia, and Guatemala be safe, counted, educated, and healthy. As a former teen advisor of this campaign, and now a youth champion for this campaign, I was exposed to issues like child marriage, and I grew a sense of knowledge that it was important for me to speak up for girls who don't have a voice abroad. Now, by this time, many of you may be thinking, well, why are we talking about girls? What a lot of people don't know is that less than 2 cents of every development dollar goes to programs for girls in developing countries. And sometimes 80 to 90% of these youth program participants are boys. Girls are not really encouraged to attend leadership programs, even though it's been proven that they actually reinvest 90% of their income within their families, thus creating a rippling effect. You know, the right to an education, the right to speak up. Does this sound like a girl we have recently heard about in the media? Let me introduce you to Malala, who by the age of 14 was already known worldwide to be a female activist for women's rights and education. Now that she's 15 years old, she is still fighting for those same rights. Why should she have to fight for these rights if right here we live in this country and we are presented with this opportunity? Well, what if I told you that if on October 9, you were Malala and you were shot by the Taliban in the head for speaking up for these rights? I bet that some of you people here in the audience are 15 years old. This is frightening. If there's something to learn from Malala, is to take education as a gift and not take it for granted. We should learn from her. And every time I think of Malala, I think of the time I interviewed Ambassador-at-Large for Global Women's Issues, Melaine Revere. When I asked her why we should focus on girls, her answer was clear. Investing in girls is smart economics, and a country cannot prosper if it leaves half of its population behind. I think we can agree that there's some truth in that. And so, TEDxYouth of SanDiego, let us not forget how fortunate we are to live in this country. Even if we don't agree with some issues like, let's say, the California education system here, at least we have the power to make change happen, as seen in this last election. If you think that there's someone or something in your way from achieving your dreams, like in my case, I told you, my father, be persistent. Vale la pena. It's worth it. To my high school seniors in the audience, I know right now you are going through the college application process and then the college decision process. Well, let me tell you that if at any moment within that process you begin to, for some reason, self-doubt yourself and begin to double-think your capabilities, please throw away that self-doubt and think about the 600 million adolescent girls living in developing countries who wish to be in your position right now. If there's something that I really want to tell you are words of advice that have been given to me by my mentors. Benjamin Cardenas, who was a district office director of Congresswoman Napolitano, on my first day of my internship, he sat me down and he told me, always tell your story wherever you go. Then I have Jeff Calais, who I met at my Coca-Cola Scholarship reception. And even before coming to this conference, he told me, speak the truth. And that's what I've done to all of you here. I've told my true story to you, and now I hope that you have the power within yourself to take your story with you wherever you go and tell it, because that's what makes you different. That's what makes you stand out. And like I said, I really love today's theme. What is today's theme? I think we could do better than that. What's today's theme? Great, wonderful, and I love it because it really fits with today's theme, and I could just feel the environment, you know, the energy here within you. I'm here to tell you that, you know, if you were to ask me, was it worth it going up against my father to letting me attend the PAGE program? Was it worth it going up against him and telling him that I wanted to attend Wellesley College in Massachusetts? Was it worth it standing up to him and going up against our family traditions? I'm going to tell you, yes, it was worth it, because I learned that we are in charge of being who we want to be, architects of the future. I know I'm an architect of my future, and so are you. Thank you. Thank you.